Well, it wasn't the finish that the Saints wanted as they fall 17-13 in preseason game number 1 against the Texans. 3 turnovers and breakdowns late in the secondary forced the Saints to fall short against Houston. But there were some positives to take, even though they didn't get the win on Saturday night. Number 1, the offense looked really good in their opening drive. Andy Dalton, who was playing in place of an injured Jameis Winston, went a perfect 5 for 5 on his opening drive, made some big third down throws to Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway, and Dwayne Washington capped off that 10-play, 67-yard drive with a touchdown off a screen pass from Dalton. Dwayne Washington, I think, played really well in this game. I think he's also slotted maybe at running back number 3. At least this is my opinion through 2 weeks of training camp. Of course, you already know at the top of the running back depth chart, you've got Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, but behind that, there's a really good competition going on. I think Dwayne Washington is at 3, and then you have those 3 backs possibly fighting for one last spot at the running back position. I think Tony Jones Jr. played well in this game. I think Devin Ezigbo at times showed some flashes. Abram Smith, I thought, looked pretty good despite having that fumble at the goal line in the fourth quarter. I think Abram Smith, a rookie out of Baylor, someone that could possibly push these other 2 running backs and take that 4th spot. On defense, they opened up that opening drive with a 3-and-out, and we had tackles for losses by Chase Hansen and Paulson Adebo, who has shined during training camp. It was great to see that translate over into a preseason game. And Chase Hansen had a really good game as well. He had that tackle for loss, like I mentioned, in that opening drive, but also had an interception in the second quarter. And the linebacking group for the Saints is one position or one area of need that behind Demario Davis and behind Pete Werner, who's actually injured right now, going through a groin injury for the second time in camp, there's not much depth at the linebacker position. And I think someone stepping up, like Chase Hansen did tonight, may bode well for the Saints in building some depth back there. I thought Eric Wilson played well, and then I think Caden Ellis, give him a couple more preseason games. If he's able to catch up to speed, then that depth issue that we're having early on right now at the linebacker position may be solved. Some downsides that I saw in this game, one had to be Ian Book, and I know he had his struggles. He had 2 turnovers right in his first 2 series. Looked like he wasn't comfortable most of the game. Of course, some of that had to do with that second unit offensive line, which at times also struggled protecting him. Ian Book did find some sort of rhythm later in the second half when he had those quick throws, when he was able to use his feet to make plays. But Ian Book, I hope to see some improvement in these next 2 games because I think he's also fighting for a 53-man roster spot here. Right now, he would be on the cut line, in my opinion, if the Saints had to make cuts today. Ian Book's got to play well in these next 2 preseason games to prove that he belongs here on this team. I thought we saw Trevor Penning. Remember, he's in a battle with James Hurst at the left tackle spot for that starting left tackle spot going into the season. Trevor Penning has had a good camp the first 2 weeks. I think at times he looked good, but at most of the times I think he struggled in game number 1 against the Texans, particularly in pass rush sets. When they knew they had the edge rushers going after the quarterback, I think he had some struggles trying to protect Ian Book's blind side there. And that's maybe something he needs to work on there, but I didn't think he had his best game as well. Landon Young on the other end on that second unit at the right tackle spot also had some struggles as well in pass protection. Dennis Allen said afterwards the turnovers were big and there are things that they want to clean up moving on to the second preseason game, which will be in Green Bay next Friday night. Remember, they head to Green Bay tomorrow and they'll start joint practices with the Packers beginning on Tuesday.